What is up YouTube? Nick here. Today I'm going to review a Moultrie camera. I'm also going to show you a sweet idea on how to make a trail camera mount. Let's check it out. So this is the Moultrie camera that I will be reviewing. It is the Moultrie GameSpy A5 low glow infrared digital camera. It is the second generation. This camera retails for about $115. This camera is a 5.0 megapixel low glow infrared camera. It has about a 50-foot camera range for photos and about a 40-foot camera range for video. This camera goes for about $115, so it's pretty affordable. That's one of the main reasons I like it, since I do put a lot of my cameras out on public land. If one goes missing, for $115, it sure beats a more expensive camera. This camera, like most Moultries, are pretty easy to set up. Very few buttons. Instructions on the inside panel, which makes it very easy to comprehend. Basically, the setup is pretty self-explanatory. You got your time, AM, PM, your date, the day of the month. You also have your camera ID, which comes in really handy. I label all my cameras. I also label the SD cards so everything matches up. This is where you can select your multi-shot mode, whether it be one shot up to 3 shots per second. I usually just keep mine on 1. And then you can actually purge your entire card right on this function as well. Once your camera is set up, you can change it to your intervals: 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, or 5 minutes. Since I'm usually on deer trails, I put mine every 10 seconds. If I was to hunt bears or something, I might have it every 5 minutes, since the bears would be there at a concentrated amount of time. This camera takes 8 AA batteries, which according to the manufacturer suggests that you'll get at least 16,000 images out of. The SD card is easily accessible for removal. It can take up to a 32 gigabyte SD card. The way I work my SD cards is every camera has 2 SD cards that are labeled with the camera number. That way I can just go into the woods, pop one in, pop a new one in, take the old one out, and off I go. This model of camera also has ports for a USB and 12 volt. Okay, review time about this camera. Things I like about this camera: it's very affordable. I think it retails for about $115. At that price point, you can afford to run many cameras, and since I do put them on the public land, if one does go missing, it's not going to break the bank. It would suck, but it's not going to, you know, have the impact as a $300 camera going missing. These cameras do have the areas for the Python strap type of locks. I don't use those because really, if somebody wants the camera, they're going to get at it no matter what. This camera has a 1.5 second trigger speed, which I find is plenty good for me. As long as you set it up correctly. I very rarely get an instance where I only get half of the deer, or you know, it's cut off at some point. Unless they're moving through there really quickly, this camera does a pretty good job at actually capturing the intended target. This camera takes excellent daytime photos. I was actually pretty impressed with you know, how crisp and clean they actually are. The downside is the nighttime photos and the nighttime videos aren't nearly as good, but I think you can expect that with a $115 camera. You know, the nighttime videos and photos, you can still identify it's a deer. Yes, you can identify the rack, but it's not as crisp and clear as some of the other cameras I've seen. Another downside to this camera is the size. You know, it's fairly large. It weighs, with the batteries, it weighs about 1.5 pounds, which the weight doesn't really bug me. It's just, you know, the size of it. You know, it'd be nicer if it was a little bit more compact, a little bit more discreet. But once again, that price point is what really got me to buy this camera, and I'm overall happy with the performance of this camera. Moultrie does send a strap to this camera. I don't even use it. They're kind of cheap, just plastic buckle. Plus, I've actually been getting into hanging my cameras up high off the ground, about 12 feet up. It seems like you get better shots going down at the deers. You can really see the racks really good, and it deters thieves. You can see right here, this guy walked right underneath me with his dog, and he didn't even notice that the camera was there. Granted, he was walking away from it, but this goes to show you, people aren't looking up for trail cameras. They're looking at eye level. With that being said, how I do that and how I hang them up high is I use one of these deals. This is a camera mount. This is what I use on all my cameras. It has the ability, you know, to swivel the camera up and down, and with this nut you can actually swivel them left and right. This does screw into the tree, so the state forest land that I hunt, I'm actually able to screw into the trees. If I was hunting a WMA, this would not be legal, and then that's when I would use the straps. But I'm going to show you guys how to make this. Okay, so step one. Suppose we need to go to town and get some supplies for the camera mount. Alright, they actually had what I wanted. Check that out. You can't see it. $5.14 for this trail camera mount. So let's go build it. So this is literally everything you need to make these camera mounts. You got 3 1/2-inch washers, a 1/2-inch wing nut, a 1/2-inch hex bolt, I believe it's 1.5 inches long, a 5-inch leg screw that has an eye bolt on it, and then a 1/4 inch eye bolt. This one's 2.5 inches long. So it's super easy to assemble. Basically everything is going to be built off of this hex bolt. Take your hex bolt, washer, leg bolt, another washer, 1/4 inch eye bolt, another washer, and then your wing nut. And there you have it. You can tighten or loosen the wing nut, and that's how you adjust the angle of your camera. That will be on this 1/4 inch eye bolt. One last step that I like to do with these mounts is I like to paint them. Here's one that I already painted. You can just see how much it cuts down on the shine, and it'll help with rusting. So all you got to do is screw the mount into the tree. It's much easier to screw the mount into the tree before you attach the camera. Once your mount is screwed into your tree, you can then screw in your camera onto the 1/4 inch eye bolt. I usually leave it a little bit loose. That way you can adjust this nut and you can actually turn the camera in the desired position that you want. You can also loosen this bolt and you can move it up and down. That way if I'm 12 feet up in the air, where I like to hang my cameras, I usually point them down in this fashion. Once you have the camera exactly where you want it, you just tighten that wing nut and she's secure. If you liked what you've seen today, please subscribe to my channel. It helps me out big times. More to come.